A dynamic 37-year-old, Burkina Faso's military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has crafted a compelling image as a pan-Africanist committed to liberating his country from what he perceives as the grip of Western imperialism and neo-colonialism. His rhetoric has struck a chord across Africa and globally, with supporters viewing him as a modern successor to African icons like Burkina Faso's Thomas Sankara, a Marxist revolutionary often dubbed Africa's Che Guevara. Traoré's influence is immense. I've heard politicians and writers as far as Kenya and East Africa proclaim, "This is the one. He's the leader," said Beverly Ochieng, a senior analyst at Control Risks, in an interview with the BBC. His rhetoric captures the current era, where many Africans are questioning their ties with the West and why poverty persists in a continent so rich in resources, she added. Following his 2022 coup, Traoré's government pivoted away from France, its former colonial power, forging a robust partnership with Russia, including the presence of Russian paramilitary forces, and embracing socialist economic policies. These policies include establishing a state-owned mining company, mandating that foreign companies cede a 15% stake in their local operations and share expertise with Burkinabe workers. This requirement also applied to Russian company Nordgold, which received a license in late April for its latest venture in Burkina Faso's gold sector. As part of Traoré's self-described revolution to ensure Burkina Faso reaps the benefits of its mineral wealth, the junta is constructing a gold refinery and creating national gold reserves for the first time. However, Western companies face challenges, with Australia-based Sarama Resources initiating arbitration against Burkina Faso in late 2024 after losing an exploration license. The junta has also taken control of 2 gold mines previously owned by a London-based company and announced plans last month to nationalize additional foreign-owned mines. Enoch Randy Akins, a researcher at South Africa's Institute for Security Studies, told the BBC that Traoré's bold reforms have boosted his standing across Africa. He is arguably the continent's most admired, if not beloved, leader, Aikens noted. Now let's take a look on the Trump's perspective claimed by the people of social media. Alleged issues between Trump and Traoré, social media, claims numerous posts on X have fueled speculation about a direct conflict between Trump and Traoré. These include inauguration invitation, rejection, claims that Traoré declined an invitation to Trump's January 20, 2025, inauguration, citing domestic priorities and Burkina Faso's fight against terrorism. Posts from accounts like Direbo African Hub and Asacil84 suggest Traoré rejected the invitation to focus on counter-terrorism efforts, framing it as a stand against foreign interference. However, a fact-checking report by Dubawa found no reputable news outlet confirming such an invitation or rejection, labeling the claim false. Verbal confrontations. Allegations surfaced that Trump mocked Traoré in a live interview, calling him an incompetent dictator, and that Traoré responded on air, exposing Western exploitation. A video shared on platforms like YouTube and referenced on X claimed a historic confrontation occurred, with Traoré silencing Trump. Boatos.org debunked this, confirming the video was fabricated, likely using AI-generated audio, as no record exists of Trump mentioning Traoré in interviews, threats and apologies. Posts on X, such as one from a Campbell, AJ70, alleged Trump threatened to arrest Traoré, prompting Traoré to initiate a movement against U.S. influence. Another post by Sean Goss 26 claims Trump sent an envoy to apologize, which Traoré rejected. These claims lack corroboration from credible sources and appear to be speculative or sensationalized. Video conference offer. A post by a Pueblo Patriota suggests Trump offered Traoré a security deal via video conference in exchange for mining and oil concessions, which Traoré declined, leaving Trump and his team stunned. No evidence supports this interaction, and it aligns with a pattern of unverified social media narratives. Fabricated video on mineral resources. A viral video from May 2025 claimed Trump stated Africa's mineral resources belong to the U.S., with Traoré portrayed as a traitor, AFP fact-check confirmed the video was AI-generated, with mismatched audio and no record of Trump making such statements. These social media claims, while widely circulated, are largely debunked or unsupported by reliable sources. They reflect a broader trend of online narratives exalting Traoré as a resistance figure against Western leaders, often amplified by misinformation or AI-generated content. Geopolitical tensions, while no direct personal conflict between Trump and Traoré is substantiated. Broader geopolitical tensions provide context for perceived friction. U.S. criticism of Traoré's policies. In April 2025, AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley testified before the U.S. Senate, accusing Traoré of using Burkina Faso's gold reserves to protect his junta, rather than benefit the nation. This comment, perceived as a smear by Traoré's supporters, sparked a solidarity march in Ouagadougou, with protesters condemning Western interference. The timing of Langley's remarks, followed by a reported coup attempt allegedly orchestrated from Ivory Coast where Langley visited, further fueled suspicions of U.S. involvement in destabilizing Traoré's regime. However, no evidence directly links Trump to these events, as Langley's statements reflect broader U.S. policy concerns rather than Trump's personal directives. Burkina Faso's alignment with Russia. Traoré's pivot from France to Russia, including the deployment of Russian paramilitary forces and granting licenses to Russian miner Nordgold, has drawn U.S. scrutiny. Trump's administration, wary of Russian influence in Africa, may view Traoré's actions as a challenge to U.S. interests in the Sahel, where counterterrorism and resource access are priorities. The Alliance of Sahel States, AES, formed by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger in 2023, further signals a shift away from Western alliances like ECOWAS, aligning with Trump's broader concerns about losing influence to Russia and China. Economic policies and Western companies. Traoré's nationalization of gold mines and requirements for foreign firms to cede 15% stakes to a state-owned company have impacted Western businesses, such as Australia's Sarama Resources, which launched arbitration proceedings in 2024 after losing an exploration license. These policies contrast with Trump's pro-business stance, potentially creating friction, though no direct Trump-Traoré interaction is documented. Coup attempt allegations. In April 2025, Burkina Faso's government reported foiling a major plot to overthrow Traoré, allegedly orchestrated from Ivory Coast, a U.S. ally. Security Minister Mahamadou Sana claimed the plot aimed to sow chaos and place Burkina Faso under international supervision. The timing of Langley's visit to Ivory Coast raised suspicions among Traoré's supporters of U.S. involvement, though no evidence implicates Trump directly. Critical analysis. The absence of verified evidence for a direct Trump-Traoré conflict suggests that much of the narrative is driven by social media speculation and misinformation. Several factors contribute to this. Misinformation trends. Traoré's online popularity, bolstered by AI-generated content and viral videos, has made him a focal point for narratives portraying him as a revolutionary hero confronting Western leaders. These stories, often fabricated, resonate with audiences disillusioned with Western influence in Africa. Geopolitical narratives. Traoré's anti-Western rhetoric and alliance with Russia align with a broader Sahelian shift away from U.S. and French influence. This creates a perception of conflict with Trump's administration, which prioritizes countering Russian expansion. However, Trump's foreign policy has historically been transactional, focusing on deals rather than ideological battles, making a personal vendetta against Traoré unlikely. Domestic contexts. Traoré's popularity stems from his youth, media savvy, and promises of self-reliance, appealing to a continent with a median age of 19. Trump, meanwhile, is focused on domestic priorities like immigration and tariffs, with Africa receiving limited attention. Any tension is likely indirect, mediated through U.S. military or economic interests rather than personal interactions. U.S. policy in the Sahel. The U.S. has reduced its military presence in the Sahel following expulsions from Niger and other countries, reflecting a broader retreat from the region. Langley's comments and the U.S.'s continued engagement with Ivory Coast suggest a strategic interest in countering Traoré's influence. But this is a policy-level issue, not a personal dispute with Trump. Implications for U.S.-Burkina Faso relations. The alleged issues, while unverified, highlight underlying tensions, security and counterterrorism. Burkina Faso security crisis, with jihadist groups controlling significant territory, remains a U.S. concern. Traoré's failure to deliver on security promises despite Russian support may prompt U.S. criticism, as seen in Langley's remarks. Trump's administration is likely to prioritize counterterrorism partnerships with allies like Ivory Coast over engaging with Traoré's regime. Economic interests. Traoré's nationalization policies threaten Western companies, potentially aligning with Trump's protectionist instincts, but clashing with his support for U.S. business interests. The U.S. may push for sanctions or diplomatic pressure to protect its economic stakes, though no such actions have been confirmed under Trump's second term. Regional dynamics. The AES's formation and Burkina Faso's exit from ECOWAS signal a regional realignment that challenges U.S. influence. Trump's America First policy may lead to reduced engagement with the Sahel, leaving room for Russia and China to expand their presence. Public perception. The viral nature of Traoré's image as an anti-Western icon, contrasted with Trump's polarizing global persona, fuels narratives of conflict. These narratives, while often false, shape public sentiment in Africa and the diaspora, potentially complicating U.S. diplomacy. Conclusion. No credible evidence supports a direct issue between Donald Trump and Ibrahim Traoré. Social media claims of inauguration rejections, verbal confrontations, or threats are largely debunked as misinformation, often involving AI-generated content. However, geopolitical tensions exist due to Traoré's anti-Western policies, alignment with Russia, and nationalization efforts, which conflict with U.S. interests in the Sahel. General Langley's criticism and the reported coup attempt in April 2025 have fueled perceptions of U.S. hostility, but these are not directly tied to Trump. After this conclusion, let's look at the meeting of Ibrahim Traoré and Putin. On May 10, 2025, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin, Moscow, following their attendance at the Victory Day parade on May 9, 2025. Commemorating the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. This meeting marked Traoré's second high-profile visit to Russia, following his participation in the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg on July 29, 2023. The 2025 meeting underscored the deepening ties between Burkina Faso and Russia, focusing on security, economic cooperation, and knowledge transfer, while reflecting broader geopolitical shifts in the Sahel region. The Victory Day celebrations, a major event in Russia, provided a symbolic backdrop for the meeting. Traoré was among a select group of international leaders invited to Moscow, highlighting Russia's efforts to strengthen ties with African nations amid Western sanctions and geopolitical tensions. Putin emphasized the historical contribution of Burkina Faso, noting that approximately 30,000 Burkinabe fought in the anti-Hitler coalition under Free France formations, led by General Charles de Gaulle during World War II. This acknowledgement framed the meeting as a continuation of historical solidarity. Traoré, who seized power in a 2022 coup, has positioned Burkina Faso as a key player in the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, alongside Mali and Niger, all of which have shifted away from Western alliances, particularly France, toward Russia. His attendance at the Victory Day parade, escorted by Russian fighter jets for security, signaled Russia's high-level commitment to protecting and elevating Traoré's profile as a strategic partner. The meeting focused on several critical areas of cooperation. Counterterrorism and security. Traoré attributed the ongoing jihadist insurgency in Burkina Faso to imperialism, aligning with his narrative of resisting Western influence. Putin pledged continued support to suppress radical groups, reinforcing Russia's role as a security partner. This follows earlier engagements, such as the 2023 visit by Russian Deputy Defense Minister Yunusbek Yevkurov, which explored military training for Burkina Faso forces. Traoré emphasized projects with Russia's defense ministry, but clarified he would not seek direct military aid due to Russia's commitments in Ukraine. Science and education. Traoré stressed the importance of Russian assistance in developing Burkina Faso's production, industry, and engineering through knowledge transfer. He called for the establishment of Russian university branches in Burkina Faso to train young Burkinabe in science and technology, describing this as a fundamental objective for national development. Economic cooperation. While trade between Russia and Burkina Faso remains modest, Putin noted its growth as a positive trend. Traoré expressed ambitions for exponential expansion of bilateral ties, including technology and experience exchange. This aligns with Burkina Faso's broader economic reforms, such as nationalizing rural land and launching a national postal bank to reduce dependence on the CFA franc, a currency tied to French influence. International coordination. Putin highlighted close coordination with Burkina Faso at the United Nations and through the AES with a foreign ministers meeting in April 2025, laying the groundwork for further collaboration. This reflects Russia's strategy to counter Western influence in Africa through multilateral frameworks. Outcomes and implications. The meeting reinforced Burkina Faso's pivot toward Russia following the expulsion of French troops in 2023 and the reopening of Russia's embassy in Ouagadougou. Traoré's call for technological and educational support underscores his vision of self-reliance, drawing parallels to Thomas Sankara's revolutionary policies. His promise to produce sufficient wheat domestically, reducing reliance on Russian donations, reflects efforts to achieve food security, supported by Russian-supplied tractors and fertilizers. For Russia, the meeting bolsters its influence in the Sahel, a region critical for countering Western dominance and securing access to resources like gold, where Russian companies like Nordgold operate. The high-profile nature of Traoré's visit, amplified by Russian media and African social media, enhances his image as a pan-Africanist leader resisting neo-colonialism, though some narratives are fueled by AI-generated content and viral videos. Conclusion. The May 10, 2025, meeting between Ibrahim Traoré and Vladimir Putin marked a significant step in Russia-Burkina Faso relations, emphasizing shared goals in counterterrorism, education, and economic development. While rooted in mutual interests, the partnership reflects broader geopolitical realignments, with Burkina Faso distancing itself from Western powers and aligning with Russia. The symbolic setting of the Victory Day anniversary and the historical nod to Burkina Faso's W2's contributions underscored the meeting's importance, positioning Traoré as a key ally for Russia in Africa's evolving landscape.